What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time on a nice Sunday. I am here with Mr. Spidey Bomb himself. TJ, thank you for another home run last night. I had myself a nice betting night. Justin, I tried to call in onto your XM show. The picks were good, but the technology on, I think it was the XM side, not so great, but happy to touch base with you here today.
Yeah, no, it was an error or a tech issue on the XM side last night. They were having some issues throughout the show. So the bad news is we couldn't get your winning picks. The good news is I had to give 3 picks in your place and they all won. So we ended up in the same spot that we would have with your picks. So yeah, it was a good night last night, and it was fun doing the XM show with Dino last night. So if you're not familiar, we're back on Sirius XM on Saturdays and Sundays right now from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. So catch us on Sirius XM channel 87 if you're on the road or interested in listening on the weekend at night.
You should have just slid me those bets into the DMs. It would have been great for me to be able to get some of those. TJ, what's going on, man? We've got Spidey Bombs ready to roll. We're currently at 36 likes. There's enough people. Let's get to 50 for the first one.
Yeah, 50 for the first one. Let's say 75 for the second, 100 for the third. I got 6 potential ones in the bank today. I got lots of home run bets in, playing 150 lineups as well as a single entry today. Yesterday went real well on both slates. Profited in DFS. Both slates profited in betting. Made a couple grams, so ready to keep it going. The hot streak's been good. We already got 65 people who have hit the like button now. So we'll go 125 for that fourth Spidey Bomb because I know the people are going to be wanting it today. Looks like we're going to get up to 75 real quick. First one, running it back with yesterday. We got some big wind in that Wrigley game right now. So it's Cody Bellinger, Spidey Bomb, number 1. And then number 2, we've already reached 75 likes. We're already climbing to 100. So the chat is doing absolutely great today. They want the Spidey Bombs because they have been popping. Spidey Bomb number 2 is TJ Friedel. Another game with some good weather, some good wind, and Adrian Hauser is just awful to lefties. And you can find Friedel for plus 750 to hit a home run over on Fanduel. So those are the first 2. Keep them popping because we got a lot more Spidey Bombs to come.
Yeah, Bellinger 480 on FanDuel also, I believe, is the best possible line you can get on that one. So the Friedel line, very nice. I like those long odds. I hit on Rosario yesterday. Votto couldn't come through. I'm basically playing home runs in everyone in that Cubs game, basically, along with the over as some of the bets I like. But let's talk DFS. Enough with sports betting. We'll mix that in throughout the show. Justin, you had your article this morning. And I was sort of debating between Wheeler and honestly Eflin. The bat is very down on Eflin today compared to Wheeler. But once Tatis got knocked out of the lineup for San Diego today, I think I'm firmly in the Wheeler camp. How are you picking your top pitcher today? And then anyone else you'd want to consider really between those two?
Yeah, firmly in the Wheeler camp as well, with the caveat now that Roth has that game as a straight orange, which is a problem for me. Because I'm like the bat, I am kind of high on Wheeler over Eflin generally. Eflin's strikeouts are way up this year, but, he's still a below average strikeout pitcher for his career. So it's kind of how you want to feel, how much of that is real, how much of that is, variance with a half a season. Maybe he ends up landing somewhere in between. But yeah, I was all aboard Yay Wheeler today as the SP1. Tatis is not in the lineup for the Padres today. But now I'm really torn at the moment because there is certainly some risk with a game where there's a lot of rain in the area, and a straight orange is never a great sign, especially with Roth downgrading that from earlier. So yeah, I don't know at this point. I mean, I'm not a huge Eflin guy, but he's probably the safest at the moment if you don't want to risk the weather today. But yeah, the weather has thrown a wrench into this.
Yeah, you can see I brought it up on, if you want to do the screen share, that would be great. I brought up his latest tweet. You can sort of see Citizens Bank over here. He was talking, I think, about Baltimore, but it looks like this was, how long ago was this? This was 15 minutes ago. So it's just this whole big thing. It looks like it's going east a little bit, but there's a lot of rain there. So there's a lot of ways this could play out here. If he's in question, who would we want to pivot to? Is Eflin the clear choice if we want no risk, at least from the cash game perspective?
I think so. As far as no risk goes, because you've got, Scherzer's got a tough matchup today. Lots of the other high-end guys. I suppose you could just decide to go cheap. I mean, I like Kyle Bradish a good bit too. So maybe you just go cheap at pitcher today and load up on the bats. So I think that's a viable path as well. Like it's been because this forecast update just came a little bit ago, so I'm kind of trying to gather my thoughts on how I want to approach it all here.
That's the tough thing about Bradish, though, too, right? Is like the latest update to Baltimore is even though the game is going to be fine. He thinks, I think one way or another they're likely to play ball even if an in-game delay is needed. So if that's the type of thing that comes in like the third inning and Bradish is just gone, that kind of poses some risk as well. So it's definitely, and like obviously there's also a ton of rain in KC. There's already been a late start, so it's made things a lot tougher for pitching today.
Yeah.
What's so let's try to dice this out. What do you want to do? If you wanted little to no risk, Eflin's probably he's an orange yellow on that one. He thinks you'll be able to get that in between the two windows of rain. There's anytime there's an orange at the front of Ross coloring, you want to pay attention to that. Where do we go, Justin? If these guys are all in question, I think I'm okay playing Bradish with the break in the rain, but it's getting a little bit more difficult out there. How are we going to want to handle this?
Yeah, if you want absolutely no risk whatsoever, like you got to take basically all the pitchers I like off the board today. It seems like Kansas City is okay. The late start has been announced, so they're not going to screw it up before the game. And then, if there's a window before the second, even if the second line gets there, you should be getting 6 innings out of F1 or something. So I think Wheeler is the most risky in terms of weather. Eflin is probably next, but I still feel okay about it. Bradish is probably next, but I still feel okay about it. If you don't want any of those guys whatsoever, your options are very limited today. Like if you feel okay with Scherzer against the Dodgers, that game's been moved back 3 hours. You can play him. I don't feel super good about that. I'm not playing Justin Steele with the wind blowing out and his low strikeout rate. So then you're in the realm of Yusei Kikuchi, Jack Flaherty, Ben Lively. I don't actually hate Ben Lively today, but these aren't guys that you generally want to consider cornerstones of your roster building. So, but yeah, I suppose you could go with those guys. Like Flaherty walks a ton of guys. Washington is not a high danger lineup, but he's probably not going to get a ton of Ks today. It's really murky. But if you wanted to go like a Kikuchi, Lively, Flaherty, 2 guys out of that combo, you can get all the bats you want. And maybe that's the answer if you want to mitigate the weather risk completely.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I think you can add Bobby Miller into that group that Cards was saying as well.
From then they've moved that to 5-10 now, so the rain risk in that game has sort of moved away. TJ,
that's like the third time this has happened in the last 3 weeks, and so you got a game that's dragged out to like 5 o'clock start on the main slate. Like we could have just had all the 4 o'clock. I miss the days of having all the 4 o'clock games on the main slate on Sundays.
I miss all day. Every slate should be like having all day main slate. If you ask me, the more games, more better. Yeah. But I understand from a weather perspective what they do. TJ, so from tournaments, how are we going to handle this? We're up to 100 likes too, so maybe talk about pitching, and then maybe if you've got another Spidey bomb in the holster there, we can talk about that.
Yeah, so it has lowered my exposure to Zach Wheeler a little bit. However, just because there's so many weather issues everywhere, I'm kind of just playing it pretty close to normal today. So my exposure ended up with Wheeler is still my highest owned guy, but not by very much. I got 36%. Who knows how the weather is going to adjust that, but on DraftKings right now where I'm playing 150 lineups, that's at least even to what we're projecting the field to have right now. And then my next highest owned guy is going to be Eflin. I'm not really sure why the projection is so low on him. I bumped it up manually so I could get more. And then I have this bucket of Bradish, Flaherty, Miller, Kikuchi, Perez, Steele, Lively, and even Cutter Crawford. that I'm just getting 10 to 20% of, throwing them all in a bucket and allowing the lineup HQ to do its work.
Yeah, I wish we had the Yankees on DraftKings, Justin. It would make it a little bit easier to go avoid some of the pitching, get all the bats if they were priced up for that game, and have fun. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about some of the differences between the sites as we approach here. Any final thoughts, Justin? You've had a little bit more time to digest the weather. What would a DraftKings, give me like 3 guys you think you could have in the mix there from a cash perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's wise to take all the weather guys like out of the mix. I still think Eflin is okay. If you're a little bit nervous about the weather, like Wheeler, maybe not in cash games at this point, but Eflin, and then probably one of that secondary tier of Bradish, Flaherty, Kikuchi, Lively, Bobby Miller, is probably where you end up. I think in cash games, you're just trying to mitigate risk as much as you can and, hope that you don't hit a landmine there.
All right, let's go to TJ for offense from tournaments. Don't forget, we're at 111 likes. TJ, they're looking for another Spidey Bomb.
Spidey Bomb number 2 today. We are going to number 3, and it's Nolan Arenado, Spidey Bomb number 3. I got even more of these in the bank today, so we were only 13 likes away from a 3rd Spidey Bomb, or a 4th Spidey Bomb, I mean. Keep hitting that like button. I got another one for you at 125, another one for you at 150. All of these guys I've personally bet on as well, so make sure you get those in.
Arenado, I see a 425 on PointsBet, so you can bet about 33 cents on that. And then I have a 420 on Fanduel. So if you want your action, go to Fanduel on that one. And thanks to Fanduel for sponsoring the show, by the way. We appreciate it. If you're a new sports betting customer, you can bet $20 and get $200 in bonus bets. Read the terms and conditions on that one. All right, Justin or TJ, offense. Where are we going on this slate? There are some rain concerns, but I think in general, outside of maybe the Philadelphia game, that looks like the one that might have the most probability of being a postponement because it looks like it might rain there for a little while. Where are we going for offense? There's some good offenses. There's some bad pitching. The sites are a little different on FanDuel. You can get the Yankees pretty easily, even with good pitching. DraftKings, we don't have the Yankees today.
Yeah, so for me, it's going to be Atlanta, basically always the number 1 stack on the board. They're who I have the most today, followed by the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are in a great spot now. I am a little bit worried because no matter how great of spot they typically are in against lefties, they're one of the worst offensives in baseball this year against left-handed pitching. So I really love the Bichetts, the Chapmans. I'm sure Vladdy's going to have a good day, but that does give me a little, in theory, that would give me a little pause, but I mean, they're still my 2nd highest owned stack today. 3rd and my favorite for tournaments is going to be the Cubs. They're my single entry stack today. I absolutely adore them in this warm win game in Wrigley against Cutter Crawford. I think Cutter Crawford's a reasonably okay pitcher. I even have some exposure to him because he's so cheap. But Cubs, I just absolutely love today. They're my 3rd highest owned stack in my 150, and they are my single entry stack today as well. Rounding out my top 5 is going to be the Rays and the Cardinals, and then it's the Reds, the Phillies, the Orioles, and the Brewers that are kind of my next tier.
All right, Justin, you have any specific offenses you want to target, or you want to get into position by position today?
Yeah, I think TJ laid it out pretty well. Obviously the Yankees on FanDuel are going to be popular for the 3rd straight day. And I think, you can certainly play them. The team that I am the most high on today compared to the field is the Reds. And I think this is really interesting because I dug into the last few Reds games and you look at them. The Reds have been shut out now for the first 2 games after the All-Star break. Like it was all Reds mania, the last week before the All-Star break. Now 3 days back from the break, nobody wants to play the Reds. But if you look at what the Brewers have used, so they kind of have this big 3 in their bullpen of Peguero and Payamps and Devin Williams. They used all 3 of them yesterday, and they used all 3 of them on Friday. Most teams generally will not use a bullpen pitcher 3 days in a row. A rare occasion you'll see it, but not very often. So if you look, the Brewers are potentially without their 3 best bullpen arms today. And they've got Adrian Hauser, who TJ mentioned earlier, struggles against lefties. He's got a low strikeout rate. And, it's probably a game where the Reds maybe come out and say, hey, we got to make a statement here trying to avoid a sweep at home against Milwaukee. So I bet the Reds today. I posted that over on Scores and Odds at like minus 130. And I think their offense is in for a big day without those big bullpen arms from Milwaukee probably being available. So, yeah, the Reds agree on, Toronto, St. Louis, the Cubs, the Red Sox. I think those teams are fine as well.
All right, let's get into position by position. We'll get to questions in a little bit. You can post them in the Discord, in the live stream chat, or on YouTube. Maybe wait a little bit on YouTube, and I'll get to them in just a few minutes. All right, catcher cards. Is this a position where spending up on? Probably not so much on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, they force you to roster one. You've got only one Contreras brother. They only seem to play one per day now. And then in the mid-tier, he looks good. You can also punt, but if we're avoiding maybe two elite pitchers due to rain concerns, I think we have some money to spend at the position.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Wilson isn't playing today. It's his second straight game off, and the Cardinals are carrying three catchers again. So who knows what the heck is going on with that team. But, 3 days out of the All-Star break, you need 2 days off. Seems like an issue. But anyway, I think William Contreras is fine. Baltimore is an interesting spot. They're basically facing a bullpen game today, and people don't like rostering bats against the bullpen games. Okert is starting, but he pitched in relief last night, so he's probably only going an inning. And Baltimore's going for a sweep here. So I think Rutschman is good. And both Toronto guys are really cheap. So if you want to play Danny Jansen hitting 6th or Kirk hitting 7th, I think they're fine as lower end plays.
All right, TJ, your home run hunting, maybe with a stack or outside of one. Who are a couple catchers you want to use?
Yeah, so catcher position today, my favorite guy is going to be Danny Jansen, batting 6th today for the Blue Jays. But another player that I really, really like today, since we are over 125 likes, is our 4th Spidey bomb, which is Travis d'Arnaud going up against Dylan Cease. You can find him for plus 675 on Caesars to hit home run today. Winds blowing out. Warm day. Absolutely love Travis d'Arnaud and the Braves in tournaments. William Contreras I like him today, but I would just way rather play d'Arnaud for only 200 more at way lower ownership. So he's my favorite behind Jansen. And I don't even hate the idea if you need to punt, taking a shot on like Knitzner or, I honestly don't even like going all the way down to the bottom tier. I really just like Jan Gomes, Danny Jansen, Carson Kelly, the guys over 3K more. And if I got to go below 3K, it's with Kirk.
The d'Arnaud 675 on Caesars. That is a very good price comparing to the industry. You're getting over 100 points. Compare 125 points. DraftKings is 550 on the next line. So that's a very good. Not only is it a good chance for a home run, but very good odds on Caesars. All right, cards, first base, and I guess we can get into this. FanDuel, you're going to have the Yankees, right? So basically every position on FanDuel, if there's a Yankee, I think they're very viable today. You've got Rizzo at first base over there. DraftKings, we do not. Is this a position you want to spend up on to the Goldschmidts, to the Vlads, or are you looking at someone more in the mid-tier or the low tier?
Yeah, I dug into Vlad a little bit this morning, and everyone made a big deal about he didn't hit a home run at home for so long this year. He has 0 home runs this year against lefties, despite a higher hard hit rate than he's ever had, and his weighted on base is like 370 or something against lefties, but his ISO is like 040. I don't get it. Like it just doesn't make sense. He's had extremely bad variance with the home runs this year. Eventually that's going to change. I mean, in Toronto as a whole, eventually.
I think we're starting to see it right now.
Yeah. I mean, eventually they got to get better against lefties. Henry is terrible. So yeah, I'm on the Vlad train today. My call in the expert survey was he gets off the schneid with 2 homers against the lefty. I'd be fine with 1. But, he's my guy at first base. Obviously, if you don't have the salary, I mentioned I already like the Reds, so Votto's a little bit cheaper. The salary cap, if you're spending up at pitching, can be a little tough on DK today. So, like the 2K Jonathan Aranda, possibly makes some sense at either first or third. But if you're not playing Wheeler and you're not playing Eflin, you probably don't need that anymore.
Yeah, maybe at third. I think if you're going to play him, I like him a little bit better at third than first base. There's some really big names at first base I want to get access to. TJ, who are you home run hunting here at first base?
Yeah, I don't mind home run hunting at first base. As gross as it sounds, in my single entry, I ended up just going with Trey Mancini in a Cub stack. I don't love it, but he is wildly cheap and he fit the build that I wanted to do. But Vlad is my top play here. Matt Olson is going to be number 2. Really like Paul Goldschmidt as well. And for tournaments, I think Christian Walker is just a phenomenal play for tournaments today. So that's something I'd want to keep in mind. No, not really anybody's going to be getting to him. But there are so many great plays. You want to go to Votto. You want to save salary with Vaughn or O'Hearn. And like I mentioned, I don't even mind Mancini or Alec Burleson in stacks with their teams either. So, it's a really strong position today, and I don't mind every tier.
I'm letting everyone know I'm keeping an eye on Roth to see if he tweets anything else out. I haven't seen anything. He doesn't seem to be replying to too many tweets, at least in the last 20 minutes or so. If I get anything from him on weather, I'll make sure to let everybody know. Let's go to second base cards. What are we doing there? Brandon Lau, both sites seems pretty easy from the cash perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's, if you're going cash game perspective here, it's either Lau or Donovan. Donovan's been hitting the ball real well for the Cardinals too, but Lau is 2,900 on FanDuel. He's 4,200 on DK. So, if you need the $1,000, I have no issue going down to Donovan on DraftKings. FanDuel, it's definitely Lau. Like in GPPs, you can, go to Christopher Morel is actually hitting third today for the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Gorman, McLean, those guys are fine, but I think Lau and Donovan a clear 1-2 for cash games today.
Yeah, I know TJ has a lot of his. I think I might have mentioned it, but the over, it was at 9 for this Cubs game. When I woke up and I saw the weather edge and the wind, I was like, this is going to be 11, and it was at 9. I think they're giving too much faith in Steele. Steele's a good pitcher and not taking the weather into account a little bit. Today.
I did bet the over on that game as well today.
Yeah, that was one I was on very early this morning. TJ, what are you looking at the second base position?
Agree, Lau and Donovan are probably the two most optimal plays, but Morel is my favorite individual play on the slate today. He's my highest owned bat. Love that you can play him at second or third. In tournaments, don't mind a little Mookie Betts, little Ketel Marte. And Whit Merrifield is batting 5th today, and he's been hitting some home runs lately, speaking of some positive regression for the Blue Jays. I also got some dogs going pretty crazy outside right now, so I'm just going to run upstairs, make sure everybody's still alive, and then I'll be back in 30 seconds.
All right. I don't hear anything, so that's good. Justin, what are we doing at third base? We've got Chapman from Toronto. TJ left when we're talking about some of his Blue Jays. He's in a reasonably good spot. He's 48 on DraftKings. And I found even with, if you pivot off Wheeler and you go to Eflin, I really don't want to play Flaherty, but Bradish is the other guy, and he's involved in a little bit of weather too. Maybe I just want to sit that out. So if you play Flaherty, you still need to save a little bit of salary, in my opinion, unless you're just going like, 3 or 4 2K bats. But one of the ones I like is Arenado at 30s 2K on DraftKings. I still like him as a cheap play, lets you get access to some of the more expensive bats out there. Do you like him, or would you rather pay for an Arenado you're probably not getting up to De La Cruz? Chapman on DraftKings is 4,800. Morel is 4,500. What's your take?
Yeah, I'm fine with the punt if you need it. It's a little less necessary on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, if you need it, I'm okay with it. If you're, if you can't quite get up to Chapman, obviously De La Cruz. I think Jake Berger is really interesting today as well. More of a tournament play, but his ISO is over 300 against lefties this year. The White Sox are like an enigma. They did nothing on Friday. Then they beat Spencer Strider, and you never know when the White Sox are going to show up. But Jake Berger's got the pop against lefties, so I'm okay with him in GPPs. Chapman is my top play, but like it's a relatively weak position compared to what we normally see at third. So this would be probably one of the spots I'd see how the rest of your lineup comes together, and maybe you can just kind of fill this in last.
All right, TJ, what are you doing at third?
Third base today, it's Arenado and Morel for me. They're my two favorites by a fairly large margin. And then I also love Matt Chapman. Those three are going to be my highest owned guys, followed by Max Muncy, Austin Riley, Jonathan Aranda, and then getting a little bit of Ellie De La Cruz and Gunnar Henderson as well. Either as a one-off. I don't love the one-off just because he's batting sixth, but either as a mini stack or a one-off, Jake Berger is in a great spot too.
All right, let's try to speed this up so we can get some questions. Cards, shortstop. Give me a couple plays.
All right. Yeah, a few more options here. I like Willie Adames. He's probably the one Brewer bat. Adames is, fine as a one-off play. But I think Bo Bichette, especially in your Toronto stacks today, if you need a cheap play, CJ Abrams is leading off for Washington against Flaherty, who walks a lot of guys. He does have some speed, so he's one of the better values, I think, on DraftKings today.
And then TJ from a tournament side.
Yeah, Adames and Bichette are my highest owned guys here, followed by mostly just players I'm getting to in stacks like De Jong, Arcia, Wander Franco, Nico Horner, and then and of course De La Cruz, and then I do like the CJ Abrams call as well.
We're 14 likes away from the final Spidey bomb. Get us there, guys. We need these home run calls. Let's go to the outfield cards. You got Stanton on FanDuel as a must. You've got Winker as a cheap play on both sites if you need value. Other than that, what are you looking at?
Yeah, Stanton would be the one Yankee I would prioritize on FanDuel. Anderson has reverse splits this year. He's allowed like a 400 WOBA to righties. So Stanton is the only Yankee that has really gotten there this weekend. Obviously a great spot for him, but you don't need us to go off about that too much. But the Reds lefties, TJ mentioned them earlier. I think they're fantastic plays. You got Friedel. You've got Fraley. Even Benson's in there today, but he's hitting ninth. I like Nootbaar on DraftKings where he's 3,700. You mentioned Winker, who is hitting cleanup today. That's the state of the Milwaukee offense. Jordan Walker hitting fifth for the Cardinals, I think, is fine as well. Certainly Acuna, even against Cease, he's just got such a floor these days. George Springer, I like maybe a little bit better on FanDuel, but he's fine. That's most of my plays there.
All right, and then TJ, I mean, you can go to the Cubs. These guys just have way too low of ownership, in my opinion, on the slate today.
Yeah, I agree with you. Cody Bellinger is my highest owned outfielder today. Yeah. Mike Tauchman is second, and they're both in my single entry as well. So really love those guys today. Of course, we got TJ Friedel, the Spidey bomb, and Jake Fraley as well. I think both of them are fantastic plays. 6 likes away from the next Spidey bomb, and I know people are going to be clicking it, so I'm going to give it right now. He's in the outfield. We're going back to the well with Lars Nootbaar. I think he's a phenomenal play today, and I think he's going to knock one out of the park as well. I'm getting some Jimenez, Schwarber, Yelich, Springer, and of course as much Ronald Acuna as I can as well.
Nootbaar 560 on FanDuel will be your best spot to find it. Love FanDuel giving us the good home run odds pretty much across the board. You want to play or you're betting home runs, FanDuel is the place to play. It has been for a while now after opening the season a little low. All right, let's get some questions. Going to go to our Discord and the live stream chat, see what we get there. Oh, let's see. Anything in here? It's fine. And TJ, you've been in there answering questions. Is there anything you didn't get to?
I just looked at the Discord. I'm answering our guy, Brian Marier Don Yeezy's question right now. Go over pitchers again, giving us a quick little rundown. But I figured just in case if we didn't have a lot of time, we would I'd get a few answers in there. But there's a few more things popping in Discord, and then I think there was some further back in YouTube as well.
All right, I'm just looking real quick on the weather. I'm going to jump to that real quick. I'm going to see if Roth had put any updates. He's responding to some people on Twitter. The St. Louis delay risk. He says, no change, not really. Radar is dry for now. Just a chance for a delay. That's in St. Louis. In Baltimore, he was responding to a couple of people. It seems like in the Kansas City game, at least, Tampa Bay doesn't come back there. So he thinks someone responded, Roth, with that information. He thinks there's a reasonable chance they might get that game in full, wait it out, do whatever they have to get that game in Tampa Bay today. So keep that in mind. And the San Diego-Philadelphia game is orange. I haven't seen him reply to much on that, but it looks like that game will be in a delay for a reasonable amount of time. And when you're on a Sunday and you've got to travel somewhere else tomorrow, there's always that chance I don't know where San Diego goes after that. If they got to go back to the West Coast, that might prove a little difficult. So I'd have to look into that. But the San Diego-Philadelphia game is orange. We would all like Wheeler if there was less rain risk. But with the rain on there, make sure to give it a hard look yourself if you want to play out a game that Roth has orange from a safety perspective. Going to go to YouTube. Let's see what we have here. San Diego and Philadelphia both off tomorrow, someone said. That sounds good. Maybe they do wait that out. You never know. If this was Washington, this game would be going to 9 p.m. Cards, and then they postpone it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what would happen in Washington.
Like
both of them off.
The thing with me for like these Sunday day games that I kind of always come back to, it's like, well, there are other games happening. There's a couple games happening tonight. They're used to playing evening games. It's not like it would be going till 9 p.m. It'd probably be going till like 5 p.m., 7 p.m., whatever. And so it's not like this is a night game that they're gonna have to wait a long time for. It's a very early day game that they'd have to wait for. So that gives me hope.
Cards, recap pitching with everything we know about weather, all of that. Some people in YouTube are asking for it. Give us maybe a 1 to 2 minute spiel on what's going on.
Yeah, good luck with the weather. It's dicey out there today. Like Wheeler, all things considered, or Wheeler overall, without weather considered, would be my SP1. But I think he's a little bit too risky right now. So Eflin seems to make the most sense if you want to go cheap. Bradish, but he's got a weather concern as well. So maybe somebody like Kikuchi or Flaherty is viable, but it's a little dicey out there today.
Let's see. Brian Underwood, Hauser or Perez for a FanDuel tournament? That's getting, it's dicey out there, but those are both getting a little bit too dicey for me. I would play like a Bradish for sure. Someone I would like, I'd risk the rain over him. His strikeouts have been up over Perez or Hauser even specifically as a no-go for me.
Yeah. Perez, doesn't get a lot of Ks. I'm not on him today.
All right. Instrumental wants to know DraftKings cash Jansen and Nootbaar or Contreras and Tauchman in the outfield cards.
I'd go with the second one.
Yeah, I like the second one. Get you a piece of the win there. Let's see. Second base, stacking Cubs Reds. McLean, India, or a Nico Herner. He's already got Morel. TJ, what do you think about that one?
I'd go McLean.
I think McLean, Nico doesn't bring a ton of upside. I think McLean is probably the one on that one as well. We didn't talk too much Scherzer. Anyone on him? I know, TJ, you like Miller. Scherzer's strikeouts have, they sort of stabilized. It is the Dodgers. Is this revenge for Scherzer? How are we going to play him? We didn't really talk about him at all. And you get the knowledge at 5-10. They're probably going to try to get this game in tonight.
Yeah, I like the Dodgers. I don't really like Scherzer.
And then Cards, on a slate like it is right now, is Scherzer someone you'd want to entertain as a starting pitcher?
Yeah, it's probably not the worst idea now. Like if he was, out of my GPP pool, or, if I was building 20, 30, 40, 50 lineups today, I think you got to get some now.
Let's see. Pitcher concern in KC. Roth has that as orange yellow. It's in a delay. He says he expects they will still be able to play, but maybe an in-game delay. Take that for what it's worth. Going back to YouTube. YouTube's picking up. We've got almost 150 likes. TJ, real quick, you got any more picks we can get in?
We already gave that one. That was Lars Nootbaar.
Do you have any else more in the holster?
I gave out 5, man. Come on.
The people want them when you're hot. You're hot. When you're
I
hot,
gave out
hot,
5. So my home run bets for today, I got Darno, Gunnar Henderson, Kyle Schwarber, Vlad Guerrero, Bo Bichette, TJ Friedel, Jake Fraley, Brandon Lau, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, Lars Nootbaar, Bellinger, Morel, Stanton, and Ohtani.
When one of those doesn't hit, I am going to tag TJ and tell him how horrible.
I want to see all 5
and Luis Robert. I added them in too.
All right.
I do like Luis Robert today. We did not mention him, but I like that call.
I've gone to Eflin and Flaherty on DraftKings for my starting pitchers cards. I don't really like
after
Flaherty.
you messaged me this morning talking about how you bet against
Washington.
the Cardinals.
Yeah, I bet Washington. But it's just I needed some of the bats. He got me there. He's too cheap on DraftKings is basically what it is. Don't
It's
love
okay.
it, but
He can pitch well, and then the bullpen will still blow it.
yeah, that's always
Pretty
an
much what
extreme
happens every
possibility
day.
for both of these teams,
Yes.
honestly. Let's see if we got any other questions here.
Rays and Royals expected to start at 3:10 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, that seems about reasonable with the radar I was looking at. I like when I wish they would have done that 10 minutes ago, TJ, right? It would have made our lives better from a fantasy perspective, trying to get these teams in. But I think that will reduce some of the rain risk there. So I would feel pretty comfortable playing anybody in that game right now in terms of the weather.
Yeah, for what it's worth, we just hit lock. I split my single entry team into two. One of my combos is Zach Eflin and Bobby Miller. The other combo is Zach Eflin and Kyle Bradish.
Let's see. I just want to take a real quick look at the schedule. I wrote up the Nationals. If you're looking for any other bets, I didn't have enough time to get them in on scores and odds. Let's see what I got here. I like Cards with the he's on the Reds. I would try to follow that in. The line's moved, I believe, quite a bit. You wrote it up at 130 Cards. It's up to it's only 135 on a couple of sites. I think that's still bettable for you.
I only have the pull to push it 5 points.
The what? Oh yeah, the pull to push.
I only have the pull to push it to move the line 5 points.
I've had a lot of success writing up on scores. If you do it the night before, like if you go look at Monday's games, if you get on the right side of the line movement, some of these move 30, 40 cents. And then you can either arb it out for free money, or you can just ride the good closing line value on some of those. So always check. Do you ever do that, Cards? Do you look at Monday, or am I the only person in the world that does that?
Depends on the day and how much time I have. But yeah, sometimes I'll look ahead of time.
All right. So I like that call. Let me just take one quick look and see if I had anything else that I got on that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. I had the over 9, if you can get that in the Cubs Red Sox game, that is still available. I don't mind the Rangers. I know it's it's Perez, but they're like minus 130. It's the Rangers offense. I don't care if BB's on the mound. They could certainly get there. Their team is so good on offense. I think that's about all I had from a betting perspective in my head that I can remember. TJ, anything else you want to get in today?
No, that is about it. Good luck, everyone. Let's keep this hot streak rolling.
All right. May the rain not go against you unless your teams don't have the players that are in the rain. Did I say that correctly? I'm not sure. Let's all hope we get the outcomes we want from the rain today. Have a good weekend. Have a good Sunday. For Cards and Justin, I'm Brett. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out.